How much easier would life have been if we had picked 4 barley corns instead of 3? And somebody went along with this and continued to go along with it. We continue to go along with it today. We continue to use outmoded and outdated measurement systems based on things that are no longer relevant. Wire studs 16 inches on center. We all know the answer to that, right? Manufacturing and sawmills appeared on the scene, and we started to cut things to regular lengths because you were bundling lath to send out to do your plaster and lath jobs. And those guys, yeah, they could snap off the end, but it was easier if everything lined up. And then plywoods appeared on the scene 100 or so years ago, and we wanted our plywoods to land in the middle of the stud. So that makes sense, right? Except the architecture and the design community seems to not give a damn. Right? Has anybody ever seen somebody make efficient use of that? Everything else inside the house is designed around this 16 on center spacing, our insulation, our wind, everything is designed, except the architect or the designer who draws the house in the first place. The amount of waste that we generate is ridiculous. And for no real good reason. We've reduced the size of our sheeting, the thickness of our sheeting, and I have lost control of my presentation. That's exciting. Oh, there it goes. Maybe. Maybe not. There. All right. So in Japan, they did the same thing. They went to panelization, but they did it for entirely different reasons. They did it with their floor systems. Everything in Japan is tatami. Guess what? Tatami only come in certain sizes. That means that every designer, every architect has to design around the tatami because that's the flooring, that's the only flooring that you're going to use. That means that then the entire bath and kitchen industry was designed around tatami increments. So this was an example of a group that said, we're going to take these dimensions very seriously. Do they build 16 on center? They don't, interestingly enough. I'm going to kill it for some reason. They don't. They're not stuck at 16 on center. They're able to do they'll do a steel overstructure, and then they'll fill in, and they build not with 2x4s, but with 3x3s. They come from the lumber yard, marked and already pre-cut, and they set them into place. Really, really smart building industry over there. What other things are we using in our lives that may or may not be useful or relevant today? In our workday, 1.68 markups. Do we brag about your salary or do you brag about your PTO? Which one matters more at the end of the day? We're surrounded, really, by measurement of questionable origin. And I would challenge you guys today, tomorrow, in your sessions when you're listening, and when you leave here, when you leave this environment, you go back to your community, you go back to your modeler, builder, architect, designer buddies, you're like, nah, that's just some guy on the stage, ivory tower, doesn't know it. We've always done it this way, that's the way we do it. Question why we do it. Question, is that getting us to a position of success? How many of you are successful today? All of you? 7, 3? Come on, that's a miserable number. What's the definition of insanity? It's not really the definition of insanity, but what's the fun definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you've been doing it the same way for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the industry's been slogging along with inefficiency for the last 20, 30, 50, 100 years, then why would we continue to do it the exact same way and expect anything other than more failure? What are the questions you should ask? Is always, that's the tough one. And who's going to define your success? And when is a good time to measure? And how are you going to redefine something that you can't even see? Success is a completely intangible concept, right? And it's completely personal. Every single one of you is going to have a different definition of success. If you were to write it down and compare, if you were to take these walls and turn them into a whiteboard and you all went and actually did your 7 breaths and wrote it up, you would find that you all had different definitions of success. And that's fine. Who knows the story of the color blue? Nice. Not the blue dress.
No, the actual colors.
That's not a blue dress. What color is that dress?
White and gold.
Who says blue and black? Who says white and gold? It's blue and brown. 50% of the people who look at this see blue and black. 30% of it see white and gold. Only 11% see blue and brown. The dress is blue and brown. 4,500 years ago is the first recorded record of humans referencing a color we describe as blue. Now think about that. That's not very long. Prior to this point, things that we today identify as blue were described as greenish, grayish, yellow-greenish, green-grayish. But not blue. Since that point in time, blue has become our favorite color. How many people, look around the room real quick, how much blue do you see? Of course, it's Wisconsin, so everyone's wearing blue jeans. We'll start there. Then we have all the blue shirts. So we're all in love with blue, and yet we can't necessarily see it when we're looking at it still. There's something called color constancy, which is the reason for it, and that's the scientific side. But the fun part to use in a metaphor to talk is maybe the thing that you're actually looking for is sitting right in front of you, and you're just not able to see it. Maybe this thing that is making you successful or not making you successful is sitting right in front of you. You've been looking at it for the last 20 years. You just haven't been able to recognize it, to identify it. When we went out and polled the hive mind known as Facebook and asked people to define success, many people commented that they thought they knew what success was, but they had never really defined it for themselves. Those same people also would describe themselves as not being very successful. And that makes sense. How can you be successful if you don't define it for yourself? How can you achieve something? How can you meet a goal if you didn't set the goal in the first place? That's a bit of a task, isn't it? Right? You don't set out to learn the alphabet, and you don't learn the alphabet, then you can't say that you've learned the alphabet, right? That's circular. That makes sense, right? So if you don't set out to be successful, then it's impossible to be successful. We don't sit around and wait for success to land on our lap. Success is a verb. It's an action. It's something that you do. It's something that you create. It's something that you make. It is not a passive process. Success is a noun. Success is something that we hold. Success is something that we value. Success is something that we show. Success is a way that we use to describe something. This is an incredibly successful event with a slightly less successful keynote. Success is an environment. It's an environment that you exist in, a state of success. It also comes from your environment. Success is born out of your environment. Your understanding of success comes from your environment. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. It's a thing. It's a truth. Success is a feeling. I have a picture in my mind of what success looks like. I know that you guys love this kind of exercise, but I'm going to ask you to do it again. Real quickly. One word. One word. Dig into your brain. Take the 7 breaths. Take the full 7 breaths this time. Actually do it. Pull that word forward. For you, how do you feel? What's the word when you feel like you have achieved success? What is that feeling? Most of us don't pause enough in our days to reflect, do we? That's what smoking's for. That was a joke. If I pull the hive mind, success is happiness. joy. Success is love. Success is accomplishment.
There it is.
You guys pick words like that? Anybody see your word on the screen?
No.
Lots of hands. Don't see the word rich in that word cloud. Who had rich as their definition for I feel successful? Thank you. Success without happiness is not success. This is a great platitude. But happiness without success is still happiness. Try not to read my slides, but that's a great one. Interestingly enough, one of the words that also appears when people say, how do you feel about success, is fear. Anybody have fear? A couple people had fear. Wow, quite a few of you. Not uncommon. I didn't expect so many people to fear success. And I think there's an investigation that we should really embark on in ourselves to determine why it is that we fear about success. For many people, it's, well, if I'm successful, then what next? How many of you know somebody who things are always wrong? For this person, there is always something, there's a fire, someone's treated them bad, there's always something holding them back. Anybody know anybody like that? Everybody's, wow, that's good, yeah, all right. It's as if they lived in a state of perpetual failure. They're so afraid of ever being successful that they've made a home. Their environment is this little den of calamity. It's a pretty easy trap to fall into, I think, these days, of everything that's wrong. And if we build that as our environment, how can we possibly be successful? If we fear success, we are silly humans. Those of you who are in tune with current events have seen this image. And man, talk about a guy who just defied everything about his environment, right? And what an ego. I'm going to put my sports car in space with a mannequin dressed up like a spaceman to fly around the universe. That's so cool. I'm sorry, guys, but that's props, right? Imagine if some alien culture sent out a vehicle on our first contact with alien life, and we open up this ship, and inside is a mannequin dressed up like a space person. We definitely have a what the moment, right? But the reality is that for so many of us, our environment is our restriction. It is our limitation. Our world of 4x8, our world of inches, our world of profit, our world of margin, our world of you're measured by success, not by something that you value, but by something that you're told that you should value. And you don't really value it. It's a Herculean task to overcome that, to remove yourself from that environment and to see things completely different. It's not easy. If we measure our company's success based on sales, margin, profitability, etc., awards, but our clients, which you guys are also consumers, by the way, don't value any of those things, how successful can you be? Do you know that in survey and study, consumers say, first, most important, was it finished on time? If the project was finished on time but over budget, it was a great project. If it was finished on time but they didn't